At the family dinner, my 2-year-old daughter ate from my sister's fork, and my sister dropped it like she'd seen a ghost, running to the bathroom to dramatically throw up. My mother even defended her, saying she had sensitivity to child germs and told me to feed my daughter in the kitchen so as not to bother anyone. That same day, I opened Instagram and saw she had posted stories kissing her dog on the mouth and sharing ice cream with it. The fork clattered against the plate with a sound that silenced the entire table. Rachel's face contorted into an expression of pure horror, her hand flying to cover her mouth as she stumbled backward from her chair. The perfectly set dining table at Giovanni's, Portland's upscale Italian restaurant my family had been frequenting for Sunday dinners since I was a child, suddenly felt like a stage where I was the unwitting villain. "Oh my God, Patricia, did you see that?" Rachel's voice carried across the restaurant, loud enough that nearby tables turned to stare. She wasn't speaking to me, but to our mother, as if I had committed some unforgivable transgression. "That child just, I can't, excuse me." She bolted toward the bathroom, one hand still dramatically pressed to her mouth, her designer heels clicking urgently against the hardwood floor. I sat frozen, my daughter Emma still on my lap, her tiny hand reaching innocently toward the abandoned pasta. Emma didn't understand what had just happened. Neither did I, really, except that my sister had just treated my child like she carried the plague. "Jessica," my mother's voice was tight, controlled, the tone she used when she was embarrassed in public. Her eyes darted around the restaurant, assessing how many people had witnessed the scene. "You know your sister has a sensitive constitution. Perhaps it would be better if you fed Emma in a quieter area. The kitchen staff won't mind, I'm sure." I stared at my mother, waiting for the joke, the acknowledgement that what she was suggesting was absurd. But Patricia Porter's face remained serious, her lips pressed into that thin line of disapproval I knew so well. She was actually suggesting I take my toddler to eat in a restaurant kitchen because my sister couldn't handle the sight of her. "You want me to feed my daughter in the kitchen?" I repeated the words slowly, making sure I understood correctly. "Because Rachel has a sensitivity to child germs." "Don't be dramatic, sweetheart." My mother's hand reached across the table, not quite touching mine. A gesture that looked supportive, but offered no real comfort. "It's just for today. You know how Rachel is about hygiene. She's always been particular, even as a child. Remember how she wouldn't share drinks with anyone?" My husband David, who had been silent until now, cleared his throat. "With all due respect, Patricia, Emma is 2 years old. She's not diseased, and this is a public restaurant, not Rachel's house. We have every right to sit here and eat like everyone else." My mother's expression cooled instantly. She had never fully warmed to David, had always treated him as an outsider to our family dynamics despite our 5 years of marriage. "Of course Emma has every right to be here. I'm simply suggesting a compromise to make everyone comfortable." "Is that so unreasonable?" Before I could respond, Rachel returned from the bathroom, her makeup freshly reapplied, though her face was still pale. She had changed from looking horrified to looking martyred, as if she had just survived some terrible ordeal. She slid back into her seat, deliberately choosing the chair farthest from Emma and me, and took a long sip of her wine. "I'm sorry," Rachel said, not looking at me, but addressing the table generally. "I just have such a strong immune response to unexpected exposure. My doctor says it's because I maintain such strict hygiene protocols. My body isn't used to typical bacterial loads that most people carry." She said it as if it were a badge of honor, this supposed sensitivity, as if being unable to tolerate a toddler's innocent gesture made her somehow more refined, more evolved than the rest of us. David's hand found mine under the table, squeezing in solidarity, but I felt my face flush with a mixture of humiliation and anger. The rest of the dinner was excruciating. I fed Emma from my own plate, hyper-aware of every movement, every potential moment where my daughter might accidentally touch something of Rachel's. My sister ate delicately, occasionally glancing at Emma with barely concealed distaste, while my mother kept up a stream of cheerful conversation about Rachel's latest social media collaborations, her growing follower count, the brands that were sending her free products. "You should see the engagement on her last post," my mother gushed, showing me her phone screen without asking. 30,000 likes in just 6 hours. "The algorithm really favors her content now." I nodded mechanically, not really looking, just trying to get through the meal so I could leave with what remained of my dignity. When the check came, Rachel made a show of reaching for it, then laughed and said, "Oh wait, I already posted about this dinner for my sponsored content. Giovanni's is covering it as part of our partnership. Isn't that amazing?" My mother beamed with pride while I calculated that David and I had just wasted 2 hours and the cost of a babysitter for a family dinner that was really just content for Rachel's Instagram. Later that evening, after Emma was asleep and David was in the shower, I did something I rarely did anymore. I opened Instagram and searched for my sister's profile. Rachel Porter Lifestyle, her handle read, with a blue verification checkmark next to her name, and a bio that proclaimed, "Clean living advocate, wellness warrior, dog mom to Gatsby, partnered with brands that matter." I scrolled through her feed, photo after photo of Rachel's seemingly perfect life. Her in yoga poses at sunrise, her preparing elaborate healthy meals in her spotless kitchen, her promoting various wellness products and supplements. And then I saw them, the stories from today, posted just hours after our disastrous dinner. The first one showed Rachel's face, her lips puckered, pressed against her golden retriever Gatsby's mouth. The caption read, "My favorite boy gives the best kisses, dog mom, hides unconditional love, my baby." I felt my stomach clench as I clicked to the next story. This one showed Rachel and Gatsby sharing what appeared to be a vanilla ice cream cone, their tongues literally touching the same spot. The caption, "Brain freeze buddies. Nothing Gatsby and I won't share. Your best friends. Dog mom life. Pure joy." I stared at the screen, my hands beginning to shake. This was the same woman who, just hours ago, had run to the bathroom in horror because my 2-year-old daughter had briefly touched her fork. The same woman who claimed to have such extreme hygiene sensitivity that she couldn't tolerate normal human contact. Yet here she was, making out with her dog, sharing food directly from her mouth to his. I took screenshots of both stories, though I wasn't yet sure why. Some instinct told me I might need evidence of this hypocrisy later. Then I scrolled back further through her feed, looking more carefully now, seeing things I had glossed over before. There were dozens of photos with Gatsby, sleeping in her bed, eating from her plate at restaurants that clearly had no idea a dog had been there, sitting on furniture in what appeared to be other people's homes. In one particularly jarring image from 3 weeks ago, Rachel was at what looked like a children's birthday party, holding a baby who belonged to one of her influencer friends. The caption talked about how she couldn't wait to be an aunt someday, and how she loved children so much. The cognitive dissonance was staggering. According to her social media presence, Rachel was a loving, warm person who adored animals and children. But the reality I had just experienced was a woman who treated my child like a biohazard while maintaining no boundaries at all with her dog. David emerged from the bathroom, toweling his hair, and found me still staring at my phone. What's wrong? You have that look? What look? The one where you're trying very hard not to say what you're really thinking. He sat beside me on the bed, peering at my phone screen. Is that Rachel kissing her dog? After she literally vomited because Emma touched her fork, I confirmed, my voice flat with suppressed rage. Apparently child germs are toxic, but dog saliva is fine. More than fine. Adorable content for her 30,000 followers. David was quiet for a moment, studying the images. Then he said carefully, "You know that's not really about hygiene, right? That's about something else entirely." What do you mean? People like Rachel, they create these arbitrary rules that make them feel superior. It's about control, about being the special one who has higher standards than everyone else. Your mom enables it because Rachel's her golden child, the successful influencer with the perfect aesthetic life. You're just the normal one with the actual baby and the regular job. His words stung because they were true. I had always been the practical daughter, the one who became a dental hygienist, married young, bought a modest house in a decent neighborhood. Rachel was the aspirational one, the daughter my mother could brag about to her friends, whose Instagram posts she could share with pride. But as I looked at those screenshots again, something shifted inside me. This wasn't just about favoritism or hurt feelings anymore. This was about my daughter being treated as less than, being literally banished to eat in a kitchen because she had the audacity to be a normal toddler around her aunt. And that aunt was simultaneously building a public brand on being a loving, warm person who cherished family and innocence. This is going to sound crazy, I said slowly, but I think I need to find out exactly how much of Rachel's life is real versus performed for Instagram. David looked at me with concern. Why? What would that accomplish? I met his eyes, feeling a cold clarity settle over me. Because if she's going to humiliate my daughter in public while playing the perfect person online, someone needs to know the truth. And I think that someone should be everyone who follows her, buys from her sponsors, and believes her perfect lifestyle is real. Jessica, I'm not doing anything yet, I interrupted. Though even as I said it, I could feel the gears beginning to turn in my mind. I just want to know. Don't I have a right to know whether my sister is who she pretends to be? David didn't answer, but he didn't have to. We both knew I had already decided. What I didn't know yet was that pulling on this thread would unravel far more than Rachel's carefully curated social media image. It would expose a web of deception so extensive that even I, with all my growing suspicions, couldn't have imagined its scope. As I lay in bed that night, unable to sleep, I thought about Emma's innocent face at that dinner table. Her confusion when her aunt had recoiled from her. No child should ever feel that rejection, especially not from family. And no woman should be able to inflict that kind of hurt with impunity just because she had a large Instagram following and a mother who prioritized her image over her grandchild's dignity. Rachel had drawn a line in the sand today, declaring that her performance of perfection was more important than genuine family connection. What she didn't know yet was that I was about to cross that line with every intention of burning her carefully constructed facade to the ground. The next morning, I called in sick to work, something I rarely did. David took Emma to daycare while I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop, a notepad, and a cup of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. I started where any investigation begins in the modern age: social media, deep dive. Rachel's Instagram wasn't just a casual hobby. It was a business empire built on aspirational content. She had 247,000 followers, partnerships with at least a dozen wellness brands, and what appeared to be a very comfortable lifestyle funded entirely by social media income. Her apartment, featured frequently in her posts, looked like something from a luxury magazine: marble countertops, floor-to-ceiling windows, designer furniture in perfectly coordinated neutral tones. I clicked through to her tagged photos, seeing what other accounts said about her. The comments were universally glowing. Rachel is such an inspiration. I wish I had her discipline and grace. Goals, honestly. Brand accounts tagged her in promotional posts, thanking her for partnerships. She had somehow convinced thousands of strangers that she lived a life of effortless perfection, but I knew something they didn't. I knew that the woman who posted about clean living and wellness had literally gagged at the sight of a toddler touching her fork while regularly making out with her dog. That disconnect meant something. It had to. I opened a new document and started taking notes. Timestamps, inconsistencies. At 9:30, my phone rang. My mother. "Jessica, I hope you're not upset about yesterday." Patricia's voice had that conciliatory tone that never actually conceded wrongdoing. "Your sister called me this morning. She feels terrible about the incident." "Does she?" It wasn't a question. She wanted me to explain that she's been under tremendous stress. 3 brand deals are in negotiation, and her anxiety about maintaining her health standards has been quite high. You know how the wellness industry is. One mistake, and your credibility is destroyed. I bit back the obvious response about kissing dogs while rejecting children. "Mom, does Rachel ever watch Emma? Has she ever offered to babysit or spend time alone with her?" There was a pause. "Well, Rachel's schedule is very demanding, and her apartment isn't really child-proofed. She has expensive equipment for her content creation." "That's not what I asked." "Why are you being difficult about this? Rachel loves Emma. She's posted about being an aunt. Posting about something isn't the same as actually doing it, Mom." Patricia's voice cooled. "I don't appreciate this attitude, Jessica. Your sister has been nothing but generous to this family. She paid for my birthday dinner last month. She sends gifts. gifts. Gifts that she writes off as business expenses because she posts about them. I interrupted. Mom, I'm not trying to start a fight. I just want to understand why my daughter gets treated like she's contaminated while Rachel's dog sleeps in her bed. That's completely different. Gatsby is well-trained and groomed regularly. Children are naturally sticky and unpredictable. Rachel has sensory issues that make unexpected physical contact difficult for her. Why can't you be more understanding? I closed my eyes, counted to 5. You're right. I should be more understanding. I need to go, Mom. Work is calling. On your day off? I hung up before she could press further. My mother's reflexive defense of Rachel told me everything I needed to know about where her loyalties lay. I was on my own in this. By noon, I had created a detailed timeline of Rachel's social media presence over the past 6 months. Certain patterns emerged. She posted constantly about Gatsby. At restaurants, in stores, at events where dogs typically wouldn't be allowed. She tagged locations, proudly displaying her dog in environments that almost certainly violated health codes or business policies. More importantly, she posted about her spotless apartment, her rigorous cleaning protocols, her minimalist lifestyle that prioritized hygiene above all else. I decided to test something. I created a burner Instagram account with a generic name and profile picture. Then I started following people who followed Rachel, her fans, essentially. Within an hour, I had followed enough accounts that Instagram's algorithm started showing me content similar to Rachel's. That's when I discovered something interesting. Several other wellness influencers in Portland had mentioned Rachel in their posts and stories over the past few months. One had posted a photo from a wellness collective meetup at someone's home 3 weeks ago. I zoomed in on the background. There was Rachel, sitting on a cream-colored couch, holding a glass of wine. And there, clear as day in the corner of the image, was a basket overflowing with what looked like dirty laundry. Not folded, not organized, just piled haphazardly. I screenshot it. Another influencer had posted a behind-the-scenes video from a brand collaboration at Rachel's apartment 2 months ago. In the shaky footage, as the camera panned across the room, I caught a glimpse of Rachel's kitchen counter, stacks of takeout containers, unopened mail, a general clutter that completely contradicted her curated feed. I screenshot that too. The deeper I dug, the more the facade cracked. Rachel's home-cooked wellness meals appeared to be carefully styled food that she often admitted in the comments she prepped but didn't actually finish, too filling. Her rigorous exercise routine consisted of yoga photos that multiple people had commented were taken at the same studio session, just posted over several weeks as if they were different days. Her minimalist lifestyle was visible only in the tiny, carefully cropped squares she posted, never in the wider shots other people accidentally captured. Around 2 in the afternoon, I remembered something. Rachel's apartment building. I had dropped off a birthday gift there once, about 8 months ago, before Emma was born. It was a luxury complex in Northwest Portland called the Meridian. I pulled up their website. The building had a resident portal. It also had public reviews. I started reading through them, and one review from 3 months ago made my pulse quicken. Beautiful apartments, but management doesn't enforce pet policies. Neighbor in 6C has dog that barks constantly and violates leash laws in common areas. Have complained multiple times. Health concerns ignored. Rachel lived in Unit 6C. I knew because I had addressed the birthday gift to that exact unit. I took another screenshot, then checked the building's official pet policy posted on their website. Pets must be leashed in all common areas. No pets allowed in fitness center, pool area, or community kitchen. Pet waste must be immediately disposed of in designated receptacles. Excessive noise complaints may result in lease termination. I thought about all those photos of Gatsby roaming freely in what Rachel called our building's beautiful common spaces. I thought about the shots of Gatsby in the building's gym, which she had captioned, "My workout buddy never skips leg day." Then I did something that felt slightly crazy but necessary. I called the Meridian's leasing office. "Hi, I'm considering moving to Portland and a friend recommended your building. Rachel Porter? She's been raving about how pet-friendly you are. I have a dog, so that's really important to me." The woman on the phone hesitated. "We are pet-friendly with certain restrictions. May I ask who referred you?" "Rachel Porter, in Unit 6C. She posts about the building all the time on Instagram. Her dog Gatsby seems to have full access to everything." There was a longer pause. "I'm not able to discuss specific residents, but I can tell you that our pet policies are outlined on our website. All residents are required to follow them regardless of what they may post on social media. We've actually had to issue several warnings recently about policy violations." Warnings to Rachel? I really can't say. But if your friend is posting content that suggests pets have unrestricted building access, that would not be accurate. I thanked her and hung up, my hands shaking slightly. Rachel wasn't just maintaining a fake online persona. She was actively violating rules, getting complaints from neighbors, and somehow spinning it all into aspirational content about her perfect life with Gatsby. My phone buzzed. A text from David. "How's your investigation going, Nancy Drew?" I sent him back 3 of the screenshots with a message. "Found some interesting inconsistencies. Going to keep digging." His response came immediately. "Be careful. I know that look even through text messages, but I wasn't being reckless. I was being thorough." There was a difference. If Rachel was going to humiliate my daughter while building a brand on false authenticity, then everyone deserved to know the truth about who she really was. By the time David and Emma came home that evening, I had compiled a folder with 43 screenshots, 12 saved videos, and a detailed document outlining discrepancies between Rachel's posted life and observable reality. I had also discovered something else. Rachel's financial situation might not be as secure as her marble countertop suggested. One of her sponsored posts from 4 months ago had been for a luxury bedding company. In the comments, several people noted that the exact product she claimed to love and use every day was visible in the background of another influencer's post, still in its packaging, unused. When someone called this out, Rachel had deleted the comment, but internet archives never forget. I found the screenshot on a influencer accountability Reddit thread. More digging revealed that Rachel had been called out at least 6 other times over the past year for promoting products she clearly didn't use, posting misleading before and after photos, and making unsubstantiated health claims. Each time, she deleted criticism and blocked users, maintaining her pristine comment section, while actual discourse about her authenticity happened in other corners of the internet. You found something, David said, reading my expression as he started making dinner. I found a lot of things. Rachel's entire life is a performance. The question is how to make people see it, and why you feel you need to be the one to expose her. I looked at him carefully. You think I shouldn't? I think you should ask yourself what you really want. Revenge, justice, or just acknowledgement that what she did to Emma was wrong? Can it be all three? He didn't answer, just turned back to chopping vegetables. But I knew what I wanted. I wanted Rachel to face consequences for once in her life. I wanted my mother to see that her golden child was a fraud. And I wanted Emma to grow up knowing that her mother wouldn't let anyone treat her as disposable, not even family. What I didn't know yet was that my investigation had only scratched the surface. The real secrets Rachel was hiding were far more damaging than a fake lifestyle and questionable hygiene standards. And when I finally uncovered them, the fallout would be more devastating than I could have imagined. 3 days after I started my investigation, I made a decision that would change everything. I reached out to someone I hadn't spoken to in almost 2 years, Tracy Osgood, a former co-worker from the dental clinic who had quit to become a freelance investigative journalist. She specialized in exposing fraud in the wellness industry, taking down fake health gurus and supplement scams. We met at a coffee shop in Northeast Portland, far from anywhere Rachel or my mother might frequent. Tracy looked exactly as I remembered, sharp eyes behind tortoiseshell glasses, notebook already open, pen in hand. So your sister is Rachel Porter Lifestyle, Tracy said after I explained the situation. It wasn't a question. I actually have a file on her already. My stomach dropped. You do? Nothing concrete enough to publish yet, but she's been on my radar for about 6 months. Several people have submitted complaints about her wellness claims. She promoted a gut healing protocol that sent someone to the hospital with malnutrition, recommended supplements that aren't FDA approved, stuff like that. But she's smart. She uses a lot of disclaimer language, and her lawyers shut down anything that gets too close to actual accusation. She has lawyers? Plural. The brands she partners with provide legal support. They have as much invested in her image as she does. Tracy stirred her coffee, studying me. Why are you coming to me now? What changed? I told her about the dinner, about Emma, about the Instagram stories with Gatsby. Tracy listened without interrupting, but I saw her jaw tighten. So she's building a brand on authenticity and clean living while demonstrating that her actual hygiene standards are completely arbitrary and self-serving. Exactly. And my mom defends her. Tells me I should be more understanding about Rachel's sensitivities. Tracy was quiet for a moment. Can I be honest with you, Jessica? What your sister did to Emma was cruel, and the hypocrisy is infuriating. But if we're going to do this, and I mean really do this, we need to be prepared for serious backlash. Rachel has a large following. People who've built their own identities around the lifestyle she promotes. They won't want to believe their inspiration is a fraud. I have evidence, screenshots, timeline inconsistencies, which can all be explained away as mistakes, different contexts, misunderstandings. If we want to actually take her down, we need something bigger. We need proof that she's not just inconsistent, but actively harmful. Like what? Tracy leaned forward. Let me do some digging. Real investigative work. I have contacts at the health department, people who track code violations, sources in the influencer industry who know where the bodies are buried. Give me 2 weeks. If there's something substantial to find, I'll find it. I hesitated. This felt like crossing a line from gathering information to actively trying to destroy my sister's career. Tracy, I don't want to ruin her life. You want her to face consequences for treating your daughter like garbage while pretending to be a good person online. That's not unreasonable. But Jessica, you need to decide right now how far you're willing to go. Because once we start pulling threads, we might unravel more than you expected. I thought about Emma's face at that dinner, the confusion in her eyes when Rachel recoiled. The way my mother had suggested I feed my own child in a kitchen like she was an unwelcome pet. Pull the threads, I said. All of them. Tracy nodded and closed her notebook. One more thing. Don't tell anyone what we're doing. Not David, not friends. Not especially your mother. The element of surprise is our only advantage against someone with Rachel's resources. Over the next 2 weeks, I maintained complete normalcy. I attended another Sunday dinner, without Emma this time, claiming she had a cold. Rachel was bright and cheerful, showing everyone photos from her latest brand partnership with an organic skincare line. She had posted a video tutorial using their products, talking about her sensitive skin and commitment to only the purest ingredients. I smiled and nodded, watching her performance with new eyes. My mother beamed with pride, showing the video to the server, explaining that her daughter was quite successful on social media. David squeezed my hand under the table, a silent reminder to stay calm. Jessica, you look tired, Rachel observed, her voice dripping with false concern. Are you getting enough sleep? I have a partnership code for this amazing magnesium supplement that helps with stress and fatigue. I could send you some samples. I'm fine, I said evenly. Just busy with work. And Emma. Right, Emma. Rachel's smile didn't reach her eyes. How is she? Still sticky? My mother laughed like this was a charming joke. David's grip on my hand tightened. She's 2, I said. So yes, she has the normal hand coordination and hygiene capabilities of a 2-year-old. Of course. Rachel took a delicate sip of wine. I just meant that children are so much work. I don't know how you do it, honestly. My life is so structured and clean. I can't imagine introducing that level of chaos. She said it like a compliment, like she was admiring my ability to handle what she found intolerable. But I heard the real message. My life, my child, my choices were all somehow lesser than her curated existence. Speaking of your structured life, I said carefully, how's your apartment building? Still loving the Meridian? Something flickered across Rachel's face, just for a second, but I caught it. Worry, maybe, or wariness. It's fine. Why? Just curious. I saw some reviews online mentioning pet policy issues. Thought you might have insights since you post Gatsby there so much. People love to complain about nothing. Her response came too quickly. Some residents are just uptight about animals. The building is actually very pet-friendly. Within the rules, though, right? Of course within the rules. Rachel's voice had taken on an edge. Why are you suddenly so interested in my living situation? I'm not, just making conversation. But we both knew better. Rachel's eyes narrowed slightly. Calculating. For the first time, I saw uncertainty in her expression. She wasn't sure if I knew something or was just being annoying. That uncertainty was exactly where I wanted her. My phone buzzed in my purse. A text from Tracy. Need to meet tomorrow. Found something big. The next afternoon, I told David I was going grocery shopping and met Tracy at the same coffee shop. She looked like she hadn't slept much, but her eyes were bright with the kind of energy that comes from breaking a real story. Your sister, Tracy began, sliding a folder across the table, is in serious trouble. She just doesn't know it yet. I opened the folder. Inside were printouts of official documents, screenshots, photographs. My heart started pounding as I processed what I was seeing. First, the building violations. The Meridian has filed 3 official complaints against Rachel in the past 4 months. Gatsby has bitten a resident, a child actually, in the common area. Animal control was called. Rachel paid the family off privately, and the incident was never officially reported beyond the building management. I stared at the incident report. A 6-year-old boy, bitten on the hand while petting Gatsby in the lobby. The wound required stitches. Second, Tracy continued, health department violations. Remember those restaurants and cafes where she posts photos with Gatsby? I contacted 4 of them. None gave explicit permission for her to bring him inside. One has security footage of her sneaking him in through a back entrance that she propped open. Another banned her after discovering her Instagram posts showing their establishment violating health codes. She pulled out more documents. Third, and this is the big one, tax fraud. Rachel hasn't been accurately reporting her income. She's been classifying personal expenses as business write-offs on a massive scale. We're talking about everything from her rent to her grocery bills. She claims it's all content creation costs, but the IRS doesn't see it that way. A source at a brand she partnered with said they received a subpoena about payment records 3 weeks ago. My hands were shaking as I looked through the evidence. This wasn't just hypocrisy about hygiene standards. This was actual criminal activity. There's more, Tracy said quietly. I found the family from the dog bite. They agreed to talk to me off the record. Rachel didn't just pay them off. She threatened them, told them that if they reported the incident officially or posted anything online about it, she would sue them for defamation and destroy their reputation. The mother is a small business owner. She couldn't risk the legal battle, so she stayed quiet. Rachel threatened to destroy someone who her dog bit and paid them $25,000 to sign an NDA. Money she then wrote off as a business expense for consulting fees. I felt sick. This was so much worse than I had imagined. Tracy, what do we do with this? That depends on what you want. We can write an expose, publish everything, and let the chips fall where they may, or, she paused. We can take this to the appropriate authorities first. Give them everything. Let them investigate officially. Then, when Rachel's sponsors drop her and her followers abandon her, it won't be because of a mean article. It'll be because she's being investigated for actual crimes. Both, I heard myself say. We do both. Tracy nodded slowly. Okay, but Jessica, you need to understand what this means. Your sister is going to lose everything. Her brand, her income, possibly her freedom if the tax fraud is as extensive as it appears. Your family is going to be devastated. My mother watched Rachel treat my daughter like a contaminant and told me to feed her in a kitchen. My mother has enabled Rachel's behavior my entire life. Maybe it's time she faced reality about who her favorite daughter really is. And Rachel, any part of you that feels bad about what's coming for her? I thought about Emma's face at that dinner. About the little boy who got bitten by Gatsby while Rachel paid his family for silence. About all the people who believed Rachel's performance of perfection while she violated laws and rules and basic human decency. No, I said firmly, not even a little bit. Tracy closed the folder. Then we move forward. I'll contact the IRS, the health department, and animal control with anonymous tips backed by documentation. I'll reach out to her major sponsors with questions about their partnership vetting process. And I'll write the article. It'll publish in about 10 days on a platform with serious reach. By the time it drops, the official investigations will already be underway. What do I do? Nothing. Act completely normal. Go to your family dinners. Play the dutiful sister. Don't give Rachel any reason to suspect what's coming. The last thing we need is her getting ahead of this and spinning some narrative of persecution. I nodded, though my heart was racing. Tracy, thank you for this. For taking it seriously. Thank your sister, Tracy said with grim humor. She made it easy by being exactly as fake as everyone suspected influencers are, but could never quite prove. As I drove home, I kept seeing that incident report about the dog bite. The boy was 6, just a little older than Emma, and Rachel had paid his family into silence rather than taking responsibility. That night, I lay awake next to David, staring at the ceiling. He was right to worry about how far I was willing to go, but he didn't know yet just how justified that journey would turn out to be. Rachel hadn't just been unkind to Emma. She had been dangerous, reckless, and criminal, all while performing virtue and wellness for hundreds of thousands of followers. In 10 days, everyone would know the truth, and I would be there to watch her perfect facade crumble into dust. The article went live on a Thursday morning at 6 a.m. Tracy had published it through a well-respected investigative journalism platform called The Wellness Watchdog that specialized in exposing fraud in the health and lifestyle industry. The headline read, Rachel Porter's clean living empire built on lies, legal violations, and hush money. I saw it the moment it posted because Tracy had sent me a link with a simple message. It's done. Brace yourself. David was still asleep. Emma was still asleep. I sat at my kitchen table in the pre-dawn darkness, reading through the article with my heart pounding. Tracy had been thorough and devastating. She had laid out everything: the building violations, the dog bite incident with the 6-year-old, the health code violations at restaurants, the tax fraud investigation, and the threatening behavior toward the family who Rachel had silenced with an NDA. But Tracy had also done something brilliant. She had interviewed 3 former assistants who had worked for Rachel over the past 2 years. All 3 described a work environment of chaos, cruelty, and complete disconnection from the serene lifestyle Rachel portrayed online. One assistant, Jennifer Hartley, was quoted extensively. Rachel's apartment was a disaster at all times except for the 30 minutes before she shot content. We would spend hours cleaning and staging just one corner of her living room, while the rest of the place was piled with dirty dishes, unwashed laundry, and dog hair everywhere. She screamed at me once for 20 minutes because I didn't fluff the throw pillows correctly in a photo, but when she posted it, she wrote this long caption about her peaceful morning routine and finding stillness in simple moments. It was all fiction. Another assistant described how Rachel demanded they buy products from competing brands so she could copy their packaging and styling for her own sponsored content. A third revealed that Rachel hadn't actually used most of the wellness supplements she promoted, keeping them in a closet unopened, while taking completely different medications prescribed by her doctor, medications for anxiety and depression that contradicted her public claims that she healed everything naturally through clean living. By 7 a.m., the article had been shared 800 times on Twitter. By 8, it was trending. By 9, major news outlets were picking it up. Wellness influencer exposed for dog bite cover-up and tax fraud ran on local Portland news. Instagram star's perfect life was all performance, former employees say, appeared on a national lifestyle website. My phone started ringing at 9:15. My mother. I let it go to voicemail. She called again immediately, then again. On the 4th call, I answered. Did you see it? Patricia's voice was shaking with rage. Did you see what they're saying about your sister? I saw. This is character assassination, Jessica. Someone is deliberately targeting Rachel, trying to destroy her career out of jealousy. She's devastated. She's been crying all morning. Do you have any idea how damaging this is? Mom, is any of it true? Silence. The article includes official documents, Mom, police reports, building violations, testimony from people who worked for her. Is it true or not? It's taken out of context, Patricia said, but her voice wavered. These things are always more complicated than they seem. Rachel made some mistakes, yes, but she's being crucified for minor errors that everyone makes. A dog bite that required stitches isn't a minor error. Tax fraud isn't a minor error. Lying to hundreds of thousands of people for money isn't a minor error. How can you be so cruel? Your own sister is being destroyed and She stopped. I heard the exact moment suspicion crystallized. Jessica, did you have something to do with this article? I could have lied. Part of me wanted to. But I was done protecting Rachel's feelings at the expense of truth. I talked to the journalist, yes. I provided some initial information about Rachel's behavior. But everything in that article comes from official records and people who witnessed her actions firsthand. I didn't make any of it up, Mom. Rachel did it all herself. The sound my mother made was something between a gasp and a sob. You did this. You destroyed your own sister because you were upset about a fork at dinner. Do you understand what you've done? I understand that Rachel treated my daughter like garbage while building a career on pretending to be a good person. I understand that she paid a family to stay quiet about her dog biting their child. I understand that she broke laws and violated rules and lied constantly while you defended every single thing she did because she was your successful daughter. Get out. What? Get out of this family. Don't call me. Don't come to Sunday dinners. Don't expect any support from me ever again. You are not my daughter anymore. She hung up before I could respond. I sat there holding the phone, feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. I had expected anger, but I hadn't quite expected complete disownment. David came downstairs, took one look at my face, and wrapped me in his arms without asking questions. I stood there for a moment, letting him hold me, then pulled back. My mom disowned me, I heard. He had been standing in the hallway, listening. Jess, I'm sorry. I know this is hard. I'm not sorry, I said, and realized it was true. She chose Rachel's fake image over the truth. That's her choice to make. By noon, 3 of Rachel's major sponsors had terminated their partnerships with her. The organic skincare line, the supplement company, and a luxury bedding brand all released statements saying they had ended their relationship with Ms. Porter pending investigation into recent allegations. The PR language was careful, but the message was clear. They were running from her as fast as legally possible. Rachel's Instagram account, which had been silent all morning, finally posted at 1 p.m. It was a long caption over a photo of her face, carefully lit, strategically vulnerable, tears visible on her cheeks. I am heartbroken and devastated by the false accusations being made against me today. I have spent years building a community based on authenticity, wellness, and genuine connection. Now I am being targeted by people who want to tear down successful women. Yes, I have made mistakes. I'm human. But I have never intentionally harmed anyone. The claims about my dog are exaggerated and taken out of context. The financial accusations are completely false, and I am cooperating fully with authorities to clear my name. To my followers who have supported me through this journey, thank you for seeing the truth. We will get through this together. The comments section was a war zone. Thousands of people arguing about whether to believe Rachel or the article. Some defended her fiercely. This is just tall poppy syndrome. They hate to see women succeeding. Others were brutal. Girl, there are literal police reports. You can't gaslight us with a pretty crying selfie. But the tide was turning against her. More former assistants were coming forward on Twitter, sharing their own stories. A woman who had worked as a photographer for Rachel posted a thread about being paid in exposure instead of actual money, then blocked when she asked for payment. A local business owner revealed that Rachel had posted a negative review of their store after they refused to give her free products in exchange for Instagram posts. The narrative Rachel had controlled so carefully for years was splintering into 1,000 contradictory pieces, and she couldn't delete or block fast enough to stop it. My phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. "This is Rachel. We need to talk. Meet me at Powell's Books in 1 hour, please." I showed David. "Should I go? Do you want to? I want to hear what she has to say. I want to look her in the face while her world burns down." He studied me carefully. "That's not going to make you feel better, Jess. Maybe not, but I'm going anyway." Powell's Books in downtown Portland was crowded with tourists and students. I found Rachel in the gold room on the second floor, tucked between 2 tall shelves in the history section where few people wandered. She looked terrible. Hair in a messy ponytail, no makeup, wearing sweats instead of her usual carefully curated athleisure. "You did this," she said as soon as she saw me. "No greeting, no pretense. You fed that journalist information about me." I confirmed some facts. "Everything else came from official records and people you hurt." "Hurt?" Rachel's laugh was bitter. "I never hurt anyone. I made a fucking mistake with Gatsby, okay? The kid reached for him wrong, and Gatsby reacted. Dogs do that. I paid the family generously to avoid legal hassle. That's not a cover-up. It's a settlement. You threatened to destroy them if they talked about it." "That's not— Who told you that?" Her eyes widened. "Did you talk to them? Did you go behind my back and contact that family?" "I didn't need to. They came forward on their own once someone actually asked them what happened. Turns out people don't like being bullied into silence." Rachel's face flushed with anger. "This is all because of that stupid dinner, isn't it? Because I couldn't handle Emma touching my fork. You're destroying my entire life because your feelings got hurt." "No, Rachel, I'm exposing your entire life because you built it on lies. The dinner just made me look closer at what you were really doing. I've worked for 5 years to build my brand. 5 years of content creation, audience engagement, partnerships. Do you have any idea how much effort goes into what I do? And you've destroyed it in one morning with a hit piece full of half-truths and disgruntled employees. Were you paying taxes on all that income from your brand?" I asked calmly. "Or were you committing fraud and hoping no one would notice?" She went very still. "I have an accountant. I do everything legally. The IRS is investigating you, Rachel. It's in the article. They've already issued subpoenas to your sponsors. So either your accountant is terrible at their job, or you instructed them to classify personal expenses as business write-offs on a scale that crosses into criminal. You have no idea what you're talking about. I know that you treated my daughter like she was diseased while making out with your dog for Instagram clout. I know you paid a family $25,000 to hide that your dog bit their 6-year-old son. I know you've been violating health codes and building regulations while posting about your clean living standards. And I know that all of this was going to come out eventually, because you're not nearly as smart as you think you are." Rachel's eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time, not the strategic crying from her Instagram post. "You're my sister. How could you do this to me? How could you reject my daughter at a family dinner and then post about how much you love children? How could you watch Mom tell me to feed Emma in a kitchen and say nothing? You made your choices, Rachel. This is just consequences finally catching up. Mom was right about you," she said, venom in her voice now. "You've always been jealous, always resentful that I succeeded while you stayed ordinary. This is payback because you couldn't stand watching me win. If this is what winning looks like, Rachel, you can keep it." I turned to walk away. She grabbed my arm. "Please," she whispered. "Please help me fix this. Tell that journalist you lied. Tell people you had a vendetta because of a family dispute. I'll do anything. I'll apologize to Emma. I'll make things right with Mom. Just help me undo this." I looked at her hand on my arm, then up at her face. For a second, I saw my big sister, the one who had taught me to ride a bike, who had scared off bullies at school, who had once been my hero before Instagram and sponsorships and performed perfection had turned her into someone I didn't recognize. But that person was gone, if she had ever really existed. "No," I said simply, pulling my arm free. "You did this to yourself. And everyone you hurt along the way deserves to see you face consequences." I walked away through the bookstore, past tourists browsing travel guides and students studying in corners, and didn't look back. The consequences arrived faster than I had anticipated. Within 48 hours of the article's publication, Rachel lost 8 sponsor partnerships representing approximately 70% of her annual income. The luxury bedding company demanded return of the products they had sent her, threatening legal action for breach of contract. The supplement company issued a statement saying they were shocked and dismayed by the allegations and would be reviewing all influencer partnerships more carefully going forward. More damaging than the lost sponsors was the criminal investigation. The IRS, already looking into Rachel's financial records, accelerated their timeline after the article brought public attention to potential fraud. Tracy updated me regularly. The tax investigation had uncovered that Rachel had written off nearly $140,000 in personal expenses over the past 2 years, including her rent, utilities, car payments, and even vacations she had classified as business travel, despite spending most of the time at beach resorts posting selfies. The health department opened an investigation into the restaurants where Rachel had violated codes by bringing Gatsby inside without permission. 3 establishments faced fines because of evidence in her Instagram posts. All 3 immediately banned her for life and threatened lawsuits to recover the penalty costs. But the worst blow came from animal control. Armed with the evidence of the dog bite incident and multiple building complaints, they designated Gatsby as a potentially dangerous animal and imposed strict restrictions. Rachel was required to keep him muzzled in all public spaces, was forbidden from taking him to any commercial establishment, and had to carry $2 million in liability insurance. The Meridian apartment building, facing potential legal exposure, issued Rachel a 30-day notice to vacate. I learned all of this from Tracy, not from Rachel or my mother. Patricia hadn't spoken to me since the day she disowned me over the phone. According to David's mother, who remained friendly with Patricia, my mother was devastated and couldn't believe Jessica would destroy her own sister out of spite. The public narrative had split into camps. Rachel's remaining loyal followers, and there were still thousands of them, insisted she was being unfairly targeted by a vindictive family member and a sensationalist journalist. They created hashtags like Why I Stand With Rachel and Mars Wellness Warrior. They sent me hateful messages on social media, calling me jealous, bitter, and cruel. But the tide of public opinion was overwhelmingly against Rachel. Her Instagram follower count dropped from 247,000 to 103,000 in a week. Brand after brand quietly removed her from their ambassador lists. The comments on her posts, which she had stopped deleting, were brutal. You literally paid a family to hide that your dog bit their kid. How are you the victim here? The tax fraud is what gets me. You made money lying to people, then didn't even pay taxes on it. Authenticity was your whole brand, and it was all fake. Everything was staged. Do you even feel bad? Rachel posted twice more, both times doubling down on her innocence and claiming persecution. But with each post, more people shared screenshots of her contradictions. Posts about clean living, next to photos of her kissing Gatsby. Claims about minimalist lifestyle, next to evidence of her hoarding and clutter. Statements about transparency, while concealing a dog bite incident. 3 weeks after the article published, I received an official letter. It was from Rachel's attorney, one she clearly couldn't afford given her sudden loss of income, but had retained anyway. The letter threatened legal action for defamation, claiming I had maliciously provided false information to destroy Ms. Porter's livelihood and reputation. I showed it to Tracy. She laughed. Let her sue. Discovery would be beautiful. We'd get to subpoena everything. Her financial records, her contracts, her correspondence with sponsors. She'd have to testify under oath about all of it. Her lawyer knows this is an empty threat. So what do? Nothing. Don't respond. If she actually files, which she won't, we'll destroy her in court, but she's just trying to scare you into backing down. I wasn't scared. If anything, I felt a cold satisfaction that Rachel was finally experiencing what it meant to face consequences, but I also felt something unexpected. Hollowness. Watching my sister's life implode was satisfying in theory, devastating in practice. David found me crying in our bedroom one night, Emma asleep in her crib nearby. Hey, he said softly, sitting beside me on the bed. What's wrong? I destroyed my family, I whispered. My mom won't talk to me. Rachel's life is ruined, and I don't even feel good about it, David. I just feel empty. You exposed someone who was hurting people and breaking laws. That's not the same as destroying her. She's my sister. She rejected your daughter and paid to cover up her dog attacking a child. She's not the sister you remember, Jess. Maybe she never was. He was right, but it didn't make the grief less real. I had lost my mother and my sister in one move. Yes, it was their choice to side with lies over truth, but the loss still ached. A week later, my doorbell rang at 8 p.m. David answered it and immediately tried to close the door, but my mother pushed past him into our living room. You need to fix this, Patricia said without greeting. Her face was haggard, aged 10 years in a month. Your sister is being evicted. She's broke. She can't find work because everyone in Portland knows who she is. You need to tell people you lied. I didn't lie, Mom. Then you need to tell them you exaggerated, that you were angry and made things sound worse than they were. Rachel is my daughter, Jessica. How can you watch her suffer like this? The same way you watched her treat Emma like a contaminant, I said quietly. The same way you told me to feed my daughter in a kitchen so Rachel wouldn't be uncomfortable. You chose her over me my entire life, Mom. You don't get to demand I save her now. She made a mistake with Emma, one mistake, and you've ruined her entire life over it. No, Mom, I exposed years of lies, fraud, and harmful behavior. The thing with Emma just made me look at who Rachel really is. And what I found was someone who hurts people without remorse and expects everyone to protect her from consequences. Patricia's face crumpled. I'm begging you, please. She's moving back home with me because she has nowhere else to go. She cries every day. Her career is destroyed. Don't you feel any guilt at all? I feel sad, I admitted. I feel sad that my sister built a life on lies. I feel sad that you enabled her for so long that she thought she could get away with anything. But no, Mom, I don't feel guilty. Rachel made her choices. I just made sure people knew what those choices were. Then you're not my daughter anymore, Patricia said, her voice breaking. I meant what I said before. Don't call me. Don't come around. You're dead to me, Jessica. She walked out, leaving David and me standing in our living room in stunned silence. Are you okay? David asked after a long moment. No, I said honestly, but I will be. 2 days later, the IRS assessment came through. Rachel owed $173,000 in back taxes, penalties, and interest. With no income and no sponsors, she had no way to pay it. The government placed a lien on her assets, which consisted mostly of designer clothes and furniture she could no longer afford to keep in storage, since she'd been evicted. The animal control restrictions meant she couldn't take Gatsby most places, and the few times she tried to post content with him, the comments were ruthless. That dog is literally classified as dangerous and you're still trying to profit off him? Eventually, she stopped posting entirely. Rachel Porter Lifestyle's last Instagram post was on November 18th, 6 weeks after the article published. It was a photo of a sunset with a caption that read, "Taking a break from social media to focus on personal growth and healing. Thank you to those who have supported me. Sending love and light." She never posted again. Tracy called me when she saw it. That's the white flag. She's done. Her brand is dead. Good, I said, and meant it. 3 months after everything started, I was grocery shopping with Emma when I saw Rachel. She was working behind the counter at a Whole Foods, wearing the employee uniform, looking exhausted. Our eyes met across the produce section. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then Rachel looked away first, turning to help a customer with their organic kale selection. The woman who had once posted about clean eating and wellness was now bagging groceries for strangers, her Instagram empire reduced to minimum wage and anonymity. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I just felt tired. Emma tugged on my hand. Mama, who that? Nobody, sweetheart, I said, steering us toward a different checkout lane. Nobody important. 6 months had passed since the article destroyed Rachel's influencer career. Life had settled into a new normal, one where my mother didn't exist in my world, and my sister was a stranger working retail somewhere in Portland. David and I had grown closer through the ordeal. He'd never once suggested I should regret what I'd done, though he'd been honest about the cost. You chose truth over family loyalty, he'd said one night. That takes courage, but courage doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Emma, now 2.5, had no memory of the disastrous dinner that started everything. She was bright and funny and growing more independent every day. We'd started attending a different Sunday brunch spot, a family-friendly diner in our neighborhood where the servers knew Emma by name and brought her chocolate milk without asking. Tracy's article had won an investigative journalism award. She'd sent me a photo of the plaque with a note. None of this happens without you being willing to speak up. Thank you for trusting me with the truth. The wellness influencer industry had taken notice. Several platforms implemented stricter verification processes for health claims. A few states introduced legislation requiring disclosures about paid partnerships and staged content. Rachel had become a cautionary tale, a warning about what happens when performance overtakes authenticity. I'd heard through mutual acquaintances that Rachel still lived with our mother, working at Whole Foods during the day and driving for a food delivery service at night to pay off her IRS debt. Patricia had taken out a second mortgage on her house to cover part of Rachel's tax settlement. They were both, by all accounts, miserable. Gatsby had been rehomed to someone with more experience with reactive dogs after Rachel couldn't afford the mandatory insurance. According to someone who'd seen Patricia at church, Rachel had cried for a week after losing him. I felt nothing when I heard that. No satisfaction, no guilt, nothing. It was like hearing about a stranger's problems. In July, almost 9 months after everything began, I received a letter. Not from a lawyer this time, but handwritten on plain stationery, forwarded through Tracy's work address so Rachel didn't have my home address. Jessica, it began, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect forgiveness or reconciliation. I just need to say this. Even if you throw this letter away without finishing it, you were right about everything. I built a life on lies because the truth that I was anxious, depressed, financially irresponsible, and deeply unhappy didn't fit the brand I'd created. Every day I woke up and performed for strangers while treating the people who actually mattered like props in my content. What I did to Emma was unforgivable. A child touched my fork, and I treated her like she'd contaminated me. Meanwhile, I was kissing my dog and violating health codes and convincing thousands of people that I had life figured out. The hypocrisy is staggering now that I can see it clearly. I've lost everything. My career, my income, my reputation, my dog, any relationship with my family. Mom blames you, but I know the truth. I did this to myself. You just made sure people knew what I'd been hiding. I'm not writing to ask for anything. I'm writing to tell you that you were a better mother to Emma in that moment than I've been a sister to you in years. You protected your daughter from someone who would have taught her that image matters more than integrity. That's what a parent should do. I don't know if I'll ever be able to rebuild any kind of life. The debt is crushing. My name is poison in any industry that involves public trust. I'm 32 years old and starting over with less than I had at 18. That's justice, I suppose. I earned every bit of this. But I want you to know, Emma deserves a mother who fights for her the way you did, and I'm sorry I made you fight against family to do it. Rachel, I read the letter 3 times, looking for manipulation, for some angle, but all I found was exhaustion and resignation. Rachel wasn't asking to be forgiven. She was just defeated. I showed it to David that evening after Emma was asleep. Are you going to respond? He asked. No. Not even to acknowledge it? She said herself she doesn't expect forgiveness or reconciliation. The letter is for her, not me. She needs to feel like she apologized, like she acknowledged the truth. That's fine, but I don't need to absolve her. Do you think she really understands what she did wrong? I considered that. I think she understands she got caught. Whether she truly grasps why it was wrong or just that it had consequences, I don't know. And honestly, David, I don't care anymore. He nodded, understanding. What about your mom? What about her? Do you miss her? It was a complicated question. Did I miss the mother I'd thought I had? The one who I'd believed would always choose her grandchild's well-being over her adult daughter's ego? Yes. Did I miss Patricia Porter? The woman who'd actually shown me who she was when it mattered? Not at all. I miss the idea of her, I said finally. But the real her? No. She made her choice. She can live with it. 2 weeks later, I was at the park with Emma when I saw Patricia. She was walking alone, looking older and smaller than I remembered. Our eyes met across the playground. For a moment, I thought she might approach. Instead, she turned and walked in the opposite direction. Emma didn't notice. She was too busy climbing the slide, shouting, "Mama, watch!" as she'd done 100 times before. "I'm watching, baby," I called back, smiling as she slid down with her arms in the air. This was enough. This was everything, actually. Emma would grow up knowing that her mother valued truth over comfort, that integrity mattered more than keeping peace with people who demanded you compromise yourself. She would never remember the aunt who'd rejected her, or the grandmother who'd prioritized image over relationship. She would just know that she was loved, protected, and worth fighting for. That night, David found me looking at the letter again. "Are you sure you don't want to respond?" he asked gently. "I'm sure. Rachel destroyed her own life. I just exposed what she'd been doing. There's a difference. And you're okay with how it ended?" I thought about Rachel at Whole Foods, about my mother's retreating back at the park, about Sunday dinners that no longer included half my family. "I'm more than okay," I said. "I'm free. Free from performing for people who would never value me anyway. Free from protecting someone who hurt my child. Free from pretending that family means tolerating abuse and lies. That's a hard one, freedom. The best kind," I agreed. The letter went into a drawer, unacknowledged and unanswered. Rachel's apology, such as it was, belonged to her. I had already moved on. 3 months later, I heard that Rachel and Patricia had moved to Arizona, a fresh start where nobody knew the Rachel Porter lifestyle scandal. I hoped, distantly and without much emotion, that Rachel would build something real this time. Something based on truth rather than performance. But whether she did or didn't was no longer my concern. I had Emma. I had David. I had a life built on authenticity rather than image, and I had the deep satisfaction of knowing that when my daughter was treated as disposable, I had refused to accept it. I had fought back, and I had won. Not because I'd destroyed my sister, though I had, but because I'd protected my child and shown her, even though she was too young to remember, that some things are worth losing everything for. Emma would grow up in a home where truth mattered, where consequences were real, where people were held accountable for their actions. That was worth 1,000 carefully curated Instagram posts. That was worth everything. And as for Rachel, working her minimum wage jobs and living with the mother who'd enabled her into destruction, that was exactly what she deserved. No redemption arc, no lessons learned that somehow made it okay. Just consequences, permanent and unavoidable. Some people destroy themselves through their own choices. I just made sure everyone could see it happening, and I'd never lost a single night's sleep over it.